Okay, so I believe we got that resolved. Kind of makes me wonder if that's even supposed to be like that, but I mean, I'm not an engineer. I wanted to be at one time, but I'm not an engineer. All right, again, just 2 points that it'll hook onto. That's sitting nice and flat. Let's make sure it's not sitting quite as flat on that side. I'm going to see if that needs to be straightened just a little. I want this thing to sit as flat as humanly possible. Seems like I have a lot more room now than I did before. I'm sure it's because I have the wires a little differently, and now I'm hung up on this. All right. Oh, come now. Getting hung up on something stupid. Alright. So maybe look at it. Yeah, this corner's pushed in just a little. Try and, oh, this thing is soft. We don't want to mess with it too much. Really flimsy. I'm just hoping it sits a little bit better. It might be sitting a little bit better. Alright, I don't think there's much more to this. One thing I did do, took it on advice. I razor bladed all the rough spots off of here, you know, and it seemed to do a pretty good job. You know, it makes me feel a little better that I at least tried. Again, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Nobody else seems to be making a big deal of it. They seem to say that basically, you know, unless it's cracked, you're fine. So I guess I could put in the this gasket. So let's do that. I tried to make a mental note of which way this goes in, and that didn't work because that was days ago. But it looks like it just goes in from the top with this groove in here, you know, and they were able to, you know, pry it up so you wouldn't have been able to do it if it went the other way. I thought I saw something that said that this has to be done beforehand, but it didn't say why. The only reason that would be the case is if it came in from the bottom that way, but I'm pretty sure it goes this way. And maybe if I grab the plug for it, it'll help me get my answer. Yeah, it looks more right the first way that I described it. Okay. It kind of makes sense. I can't see that. Yeah, it kind of makes sense because if I flip it over, this groove or this harder edge kind of wants to catch on the ears of this, whereas in this position there really is no lead edge, so it kind of wants to slide over a little more. So all evidence is pointing to this being the proper position where the the lip of it is on the top. Yeah, so I reviewed my video, and so to that end, I would recommend taking pictures and whatnot along the way so that you can keep things straight. I'm going to go ahead and try to press this in. It was kind of a pain to get out, so I'm going to do this on the floor. Well, that worked pretty good. I saw on a video where somebody did that, and that worked out pretty good, where they used a socket to tap it in. I tested it to see how it was to push it in, and it just wasn't getting all the way down there. This is a 22 millimeter, seems to be a pretty good size. Check the back. I don't know if that'll tell you anything. I mean, it's a pretty tight fit, so it must be made to withstand some pressure. It would make sense more so to come up from the bottom if the pressure is pushing out, but whatever. Maybe they're meant to be swapped out here and there, and the only way you could do that is from the top. In any case, I'm going to go ahead and try and place this on. I don't think there's much else to consider before I do this. I know that there's a gasket that goes on here that I think I'm going to do later. I did remove this in order to clean it better, and I cleaned the gasket and stuff. I kind of wanted to see how it came apart before this went on in case I decided to replace it. So I'm going to do my best to be careful here. Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna make sure I had this thing sitting on the floor. I'm gonna just make sure the edges are all nice and clean. Just give it a quick wipe around the perimeter. Maybe some dust from shaving it with a razor. All right. Yeah, that's pretty darn clean. And that razor trick seemed to work. Let's see, I also have this hose to negotiate back here. Chunk of debris right here. Hopefully none of that went down into the engine, but I wouldn't doubt if it did. I guess that's what oil filters are for. If I had to do this job again, I am pretty sure I'd take the cowl out. Gonna hopefully just drop it right on, and hopefully everything will be okay. I did see that one person did remove the fuel rail. There was some special clips on the back side that I didn't notice. It's just not sitting down on this side. Kinda looks right, but it kinda feels like maybe something's in the way. Everything looks good this way. It's hard to really see back there. I gotta kind of trust to a certain extent. I guess I could grab a mirror. Yeah, and this point's not down. There. Just had to push it. So I'm going to go ahead and hand thread all the new hardware into this and torque it down and start putting things together. Well, I'm back at it again here to try to wrap this business up. This is taking me way too long, but I'm okay with it because I'm being thorough and I keep finding out more information. As far as the information I found out for today, a couple things. One, I heard one person say that BMW does not provide a tightening sequence, which would explain why I'm having a hard time finding an actual tightening sequence. Everybody seems to be starting with the 3 in the middle. Another thing is this is one of the earlier, if not the earliest, n52 engine, which has a magnesium alloy valve cover or head cover. The later n52s had a plastic head cover, and you can kind of tell those are usually black. It makes sense because they're plastic, and the bolts are encapsulated. Because they're steel and reusable. These are aluminum and not reusable. So those are important things. One other little thing that I saw was, well, actually I did an image search trying to find out some of this information, and somebody had posted a picture from a service manual. I have the Chilton guide, and I don't have that page, so I'm assuming maybe that's the Bentley guide. But basically, it said that for this one, it's 7 Newton meters, whereas the later one, the plastic cover, is 9 Newton meters. And in that same printed page, it said 7 Newton meters or 61 point something inch pounds. But then if you do like a Google search conversion and type in 7 Newton meters to convert to inch pounds, it comes up as 63. So 62, 63, I guess maybe there's a plus or minus range for what you can torque that to. And I imagine that that's literally splitting hairs, such a small amount. Another thing is, on that same printed page, and it's the only place that I saw this, it says to put a like an anti-slip, like a glycerol or something like that on the both halves of like the both metal surfaces, the bottom of the cover and the top of the head. Like an anti-slip, and I didn't do that because I didn't know that, and I didn't see that, but I suspect that the reason for that recommendation is so that when you put the cover on, you're not sliding it around. With this one, there's a rubberized coating, and I imagine that sliding it around might rub that off, as we saw at the beginning when I took this off. that comes off pretty easily. I'm actually feeling all right about it. A, because I've never seen anybody else do it. And B, there was no sliding around. In fact, you really can't with this because there's pins on the two corners for the cover to go on. So the only way you would really slide it around is if you didn't even really have it on at all, which is kind of impossible because, you know, the injectors or the fuel rail, they're kind of getting in the way. So it can really only go on straight down. With this model, the plastic covers have a rubber gasket. And again, those are black, and the covers are black. And I don't think that those have the guide pins in the corners. I'm not 100% on that, but it would make a little bit more sense to have, you know, the anti-slip, you know, solution on there for the purposes of in case you're sliding it around, and also so that with the plastic or with the rubber seal, you know, it doesn't roll over on the edges, which really I have a hard time imagining is even really all that possible with this one, being that it's metal. But I can imagine that a rubber one might flex and bend and do some different things. So for this one, I just put the gasket on, and then I just put the head directly over the top. I'm going to go ahead and torque or set my torque to 7 Newton meters or 62 inch pounds. I'm going to go with what it says in the guide, the 62 inch pounds, instead of the conversion of 63 that I saw on Google. Like I said, it's probably not a big deal either way. So I'm going to start with that, and then start buttoning up everything else, and hopefully this won't cause any problems upon startup, and hopefully I get her done today. All right, here goes nothing. I'm going to start in the middle, the very middle. Pretty much difficult to cross pattern that, so I'm going to go middle, front, back. I mean, I guess I got to do one way or the other. It probably doesn't really matter. And I think that these are probably torqued to the same amount. You probably need the same pressure all the way around, even though the bolts are a little bit different. Why they got hex and e-torques, I'm not sure. Make sure I got this set to, and I compromised. I went 62.5 foot-pounds. No sense in rushing it, take your time. I broke it. Great. Okay, well, one problem solved. I took it under advisement as to the best way to handle pulling that bolt out. I was prepared to drill it, use a easy out or a reverse threaded bit and all of that, and it was explained to me that that's bad because, you know, you drill into it and you put something in it and you turn it and it mushrooms out and it could deform the cavity. So it was advised to me, if there was any little bit remaining at all, to take a punch or a pick or something with a sharp edge. And so what I usually do is start small and work my way up. I don't go for the biggest aggressive tool. So what I did is I took my smallest pick, and if you don't know by now, you need one of these for almost every aspect of this job. And I just found a point and then tapped on the back side of this with a very small hammer, and it came out very easy. And yeah, I mean, the force would have been, you know, if there was a head on it, is the way it was explained to me. But for the fact that, you know, the head was broke off. It was just free floating in there. So in any case, you know, it didn't take any effort at all, no mess, no nothing. So I'm kind of moving on now. The other thing that I have to do, or decided to do, was to try to compare these two torque wrenches. And when I say these two, I picked up another one. This is on loan from a mechanic. He told me this is the cheap one. He didn't say how much it was. Nothing Snap-on makes is cheap. So this is a digital one, and I did some practice ones, and I think I want to show you that. So for right now, I have a 10 mil, which is what I'm going to be doing on that, the center bolts, I mean. And so I'm practicing on this 10 mil bolt over here just to try to get a feel for what the pressure feels like. I have heard that recommended to do that. So just for an example, I'll go ahead and turn this on. And this has I'm sorry, I keep wanting to say nano, but Newton meters. It has Newton meters as a setting available. So it's set to 7. I already had it 7. And check this out. Okay, so this one vibrates, and then it tells you what you actually applied. I'm not sure if that's coming up, but it's 7.2. It's supposed to be 7. 7.8. Hardly did anything, and it was 6.8. So we're talking some very small pressures here. 7.9. So I'm almost at 8. 8 is what the plastic gasket, or the plastic cover, is for. 7.9. So I'm going to try something here. I'm going to unscrew this bolt and tighten it. And this, I think I set this wrong because I described how you line it up to the horizontal of where the number is. I think it's actually the horizontal of the base where it attaches to the center line. So where that line connects to the center line, I believe, might be where it is. So considering that, that's how I have it set. That made a big difference. I did a test on this already, and like I said, that made a big difference. So I'm going to undo this screw. Hopefully it just comes out nice and easy so that it goes back in nice and easy. All right, so okay, so I'm going to give it like a quarter turn off. We'll see if this gets there in a quarter turn. It's okay. Okay. Oh, you son of a gun. It's digital, so it turned itself off. Now, hold on. I need to do this. I need to be a little quicker. So and actually, you know what? Hold on. inches. Like I said, it was already set up when I was showing you, and then in that little time it timed out. All right, here we go again. And I just kind of did it a quarter turn, so we'll see if it... Okay. Give it a quarter turn here. Okay, so there's a quarter turn off. Let me transfer this over. Okay. And it's still remembering 7 Newton meters. Okay. I think it was here. Hmm. 7.1. But being that it's already screwed in, it seems to be a little bit more sensitive. So the one that I was using before is a little bit light. Well, it's hard to read this thing because there's 12 inches in a foot, and it ends at a 0, which I presume is a 10, and then there's a wider space between it and the 1, but it's not like twice the... I'm just not going to use this thing. Get a good one. I think that's the lesson here. At the very least, one that's easy to set. Anyway, so I'm about to put this back on. One little thing. I've seen a bunch of places where they're... actually, I haven't seen it in a bunch of places, but after digging a little bit deep, I've seen in a couple of places the suggestion of, using a lubricant such as glycerine to prevent rolling. And I guess, I misunderstood what rolling meant. I thought that maybe with a rubber gasket, maybe it can roll over that way, or maybe in the act of putting it on, it would drag and kind of get rolled under. I think they're talking on a much smaller level. This rubberized coating, as it gets squished down, the rubber needs to be able to push out. And if there's no lubricant there, it might squish down, and instead of pushing out, it might squish down and kind of roll over, which if it does that, it's going to tear on one side in this case. So after talking to this mechanic for a bit, he basically suggested taking a little bit of oil and coating the metal surfaces on the head and on the cover. I suppose you could do the gasket itself, but I'm going to do the metal. And then that way there's a lubricant for the rubberized coating to expand out. He also suggested maybe sanding the cover. I think that's risky, and I think that without experience, I shouldn't do that. I believe that this is probably the last time we can use this cover. If I was to keep this car long term, I would have in the back of my head that I would need a new valve cover for the next time. Pretty much because I missed the change that it required back at around the 80 to 100,000 mark, and now it's 187. So it was due. I didn't do it, and now I should normally have been doing my second one. So here I am putting in what should be the second one is now the first one. So I don't think there's any major problems. These motors are strong. It's just I don't think that that valve cover could make it another one past that. But at that point, you'd be looking at around 260,000 miles or something like that. And, you know, it'd still be worth it. But, you know, it's going to be a few years, but it's going to be a couple $100 at least. So in any case, I'm going to take a little bit of oil and rub it around the surfaces and go ahead and put the cover on. Well, I'm back to where I was before. Go ahead and put this back on. And the surfaces are now all lubricated. I don't see a reason why oil would be a bad idea. I mean, in one sense, it seems counterintuitive. And you know what? I gotta wipe something here. All right, we're ready to torque this SOB down. Take 2. Did a few practice runs. Even have a chaperone, make sure I don't do it again.
Close. What's it say for your reading on that?
It won't until I get there. 6.9. He said left and then right, but does he know which way is left on my car?
It doesn't matter either way. When you have less than 3 or 3 or less, you know.
I gotta keep my eye on this digital display to make sure it doesn't shut off halfway down through. 6.9.
Damn it, got me again.
Right? I think I know what that feels like now.
Yeah.
I can see these are already a little looser. .9, hitting the mark. Now I've seen them go like middle.
No, do those 3 the 3 times. I would treat those 3 separate from all the others. Or I would maybe like hit those a second time, do all your other ones, and then hit all of them one time at the end.
Think so?
Oh, I don't know. It's definitely specifically what Lang said. So yeah, torque those down, and then when you do the outsides, do this pattern. You know.
Well, those are torqued. I gotta retorque them all anyways at some point. You know what I'm saying? I gotta do the 90-degree turn and stuff. So, but as far as pattern go, I was gonna go here, here, like there. You know, and I don't know. Like after, like when I get back to this side, do I want to like maybe hit the middle of what's left? Or do I want to go next to the one that I just did? You know what I mean? Like if I go here and I come back around, am I going for that one or am I going for that one? Or maybe do I go for corners?
Go middle, outside, and then I would go to this one, that one, this one, that one, this one, that one.
Okay.
Or yeah, that last one, this one, that.
All right.
That direction.
Right. I mean, that's oh, and I need my torques. Yeah, hold on. Let's just, won't need that again for a little bit. Hopefully this thing won't shut off. We were jabbering for a while. I don't think just cranking on it does it. You know what? Give me that longer one. Shut up. Here we go. .1. There's got to be a plus or minus.
Yeah, I mean, a few inch pounds I think isn't making any difference.
Shouldn't.
Right.
7.1. Well, it's consistent. Now, there's no middle here.
No, just pick a corner.
Well, don't want to go middle.
I'd go middle, corner, corner.
Well, I got these side ones. You know, front and back.
Right. Yeah. Either way, I'd still go like that.
Okay.
Like I'd almost consider these as like fluffer bolts, kind of the same as these. They're not the main thing holding it down.
Well, I mean, I know you want to work from the inside out, but whatever. I mean, I think I'm overthinking it.
I don't think ultimately.
With this much light pressure, I just.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I don't think anything's gonna light on fire or explode.
I just don't want it leaking or a weak point.
Right.
Or it just started saying 6.8. It didn't beep or nothing.
I wonder if it has like a minimum of 5 or something, where it's not going to display it until you reach a certain number.
It did turn, so there was 7.1. This one I need the shorty. This is one pain in the ass about it, but hey, it's a nice thing to have somebody here for.
Yeah.
Scalpel.
Yeah, man. I can tell you, having an extra hand doing those bearings the other day. Well, I mean, I kind of had some assistance from Maggie, but you know how that goes.
Right.
So I had a good amount of assistance from Scarlett.
More,
Man,
probably.
Yeah, she's so now I'm getting this thing where I on a near daily basis. So I took Scarlett to work a couple weeks ago, and then I took her to work yesterday because like I've been having longer days lately and stuff. And, and she enjoys being at the shop with me, so I bring her with every once in a while. Well, she came with me on like Tuesday or something like that, whatever day. And now, like every single day, it's, can I go to the shop? Can I go? I want to go to the shop. I want to go to the shop. Can I go to the shop? I want to go to the shop. Oh my God. Well, on one hand, I love your enthusiasm and your presence. It's just not the most convenient thing all the time.
Let me see that again. I think I need a swivel socket for that back one, possibly both back ones. But I think I can get to this one straight. Maybe. I hate using a swivel when you gotta torque something.
I would try to avoid it.
Yeah, but I don't have a choice. I've been saying that people need to take the cowl out. Of course, my swivel is on a quarter.
You want me to give it a shot? See if I can get back there?
I just don't think you can do it. Here, do this. Put that on without the wrench.
Just see this socket.
I don't know that you got the clearance.
Jesus Christ. Or maybe. I heard it go to my right.
Alright, I'm gonna try to fit this in. I think it'll slide right in, but if it doesn't, needs to be straight. I may have to turn the screw in order for it to go in. A 4mm Allen. Let's see if turning it will draw it in. Oh, it won't even turn. I think it's gotta kind of be in. I had no tension on it really when I took this off. I spun it to the right and it spun kind of freely. Okay. So I'm spinning it clockwise to draw it in. I'm curious. I'm just going to spin it counterclockwise, see if it pushes it out or if it locks it in better. Nope, it pushes it out. Okay. So that makes sense. So upon disassemble of this, you definitely want to have it screwed all the way to the right. I'm not real sure why it spun freely. Maybe one more turn and it would have stopped. I'm not sure, but right now it's definitely stopped all the way to the right. And I think when you're doing a teardown of this or a disassemble of this, you want it to have it in that position because there's pressure on it. Actually, there's a lot of pressure on it pushing it out when that's engaged. So I can see how this can shoot out. That's what it looked like people were saying, is that this would shoot out. So again, when you take this off, maybe you want this bottom screw not all the way out, just to make sure that that doesn't happen. Just in case you forget, even if you remember. All right, you know what, I'm gonna put some rags down. Because just for this process right here, it seems like a good spot for a screw to fall in. And with my butterfingers, I just would rather not even take a chance, to be honest. If it falls, it'll fall an inch right onto this rag. And then let me switch it around. These are the 10 mil hex bolts. I guess I don't remember the spec on this. I might re-watch a video to see, but it looked like one person tightened it and then gave it 180-degree top off, but I don't remember what he tightened it to, if he torqued it and then did it. I don't think he torqued it. See, I think he made it snug and then gave it 290s, but that's pretty inexact. All right, that one's more than finger tight. I mean, more than fingered on, threaded on. It's threaded on, halfway. All right, I'm kind of doing this blind right here, so I'm gonna just make sure I get that good and tucked in there, because any little thing, I make it drop out of your hand. Actually, if it falls down here, no big deal. Probably just go to the floor. But if it falls down in this engine, I am screwed. Actually, if it falls down right, yeah, I'm screwed. There's a chance it can get caught up right where the spark plug is supposed to sit. There's a chance. Okay, same deal, that's more than threaded on. Well, looking for the right extension here. So you don't want to drop this either. Yeah, see, I guess I don't remember that being so tight. Kind of makes sense. Or it kind of rings a bell, I should say. So I'll have to use a box wrench to finish this off the slow way. Now I gotta do this bottom one. I can't get the camera to point any lower. It won't stay, but the trick of this is going to be to not lose it. So I still have my rag down here. I'm gonna just, it kind of comes toward you. So I guess I'm kind of doing this a little bit blind, hoping not to drop it. Okay, I got a couple of turns on it. I just keep my finger on it in case I got it figured wrong. I'll turn it with my extension. Lefty loosey becomes lefty tighty when you are coming towards yourself. It's like a remote control car. When you turn it around and it's coming towards you. Left is right and right is left. You don't want to go the wrong way because you just threaded it in. You can undo it. I'll make sure you got that figured out. Alright, so that is threaded tight, so I might snug them up and then look into it and see if I gotta actually torque them or something, but for the most part, that part of the job is almost done because there's one last thing. Put your 4mm Allen back in there and draw her until there's tension. I mean, I feel tension, but if I can keep going. So I seen a video that shows how to reset that, so I'm gonna look into that and figure that out. Looks like it's easy, so that's good.